Matt, these are the crucial hours when you may still find people alive in the rubble after an earthquake. But you need specialist search and rescue for that. And the Taliban, who now control Afghanistan, they don't have those kind of teams. They could have asked for them, maybe from Turkey, which is a friendly country nearby, but they haven't asked for them. If they ask for them tomorrow, it'll be too late. I think that shows how isolated this regime is. They are getting some aid. Pakistan next door is taking some of the worst injured. Other neighbouring countries, including India, which is an old enemy, are sending aid. The European Union is sending $1 million, but just to the UN and to NGOs, not to the Taliban government. And that is because they don't really recognise the Taliban government. The Taliban government can't coordinate any kind of aid effort. And that goes to show that what a difficult situation this is. This earthquake is the last thing that the Afghan people needed at this time.
The rush to bury the dead, a religious requirement in Islam, but it's also good hygiene to clear unburied bodies while the search for the living goes on.
Allahu Akbar.
In Guyana, one of the worst affected districts, aid agencies estimate that nearly 3/4 of the houses have collapsed. People scour the debris for survivors, but for some, hope has crumbled too.
دا کور زما دغه ټول ختم شوی دی او په دا کې چې کوم مالونه وي دا ختم شوی دي د منځ تللی دي او ما خپل 12 کسان شهیدان د لاسه ورکړي دي په دغه کور کې.
In Spere district, more rubble, more desperation. It's a remote area, and now roads are blocked by landslides. The number killed and injured can only be an estimate.
1500 کورنۍ چې دا کیرینه زیانمن شوي دي، بعضې بالکل د وستاګه نه دي چې قابل د وستاګه نه دي، او بعضې دا شوي دي چې تخریب شوي دي زیات د خطر سره مخ دي او همداره دا چې غرایز علاقاتو څخه لرې دو.
People here are poor at the best of times, and poverty was increasing even before this catastrophe. So how can the Taliban, the Islamic Emirate, provide for their needs now when they couldn't before the quake?
موږ ته اسلامي امارت نه د ټول وطن نه دغه درخواست دی چې موږ سره د مرسته وکړو او موږ دغه په شنو لاسمان لاندې پرته یې په خیمه کې یوه تشي او د راکو نشته.
The Taliban have started to ferry in aid, but they've only a handful of military helicopters, as Air Force pilots used most of the fleet to escape last August when the previous government was ousted, while Afghanistan's wealthy elite fled in private aircraft. Nor have they any experience of coordinating a major relief effort like this. The logistics aren't easy, and while neighbouring countries have pledged aid, it will be hard to ensure it's spent effectively. The EU will provide money to international aid agencies in the UN, who are also sending help. But Afghanistan under the Taliban has become an impoverished pariah state, and a disaster like this shows that the costs will be paid by the poorest.
Coming now. This is the worst earthquake for 2 decades here. And there was another terrible one before that in 1998, which I remember well because I covered it. It was in a very remote part of the north of Afghanistan. And I remember being shocked at how undeveloped, how poverty-stricken it was. I was talking to a former government official yesterday. He said, look, things have got better. There has been some development since then. But in this area where this earthquake has hit, not a lot of development, because it's always been a stronghold of the Haqqani network. The Haqqanis are regarded as terrorists internationally, and they came under international sanctions for many years. They're now a critical part of the Taliban government, and they are still under sanctions. So this area has seen very little development. And what's going to happen after the earthquake? Yes, there will be some aid that gets in. The international community is giving humanitarian aid, but it doesn't give any development aid to Afghanistan because of the Taliban being under sanctions. So what will happen then? I guess this area will just carry on being as poor as it has ever been, and now even poorer because of this catastrophe.
Lindsay Hill, some live for us in Afghanistan. Thank you very much indeed.